a little problem we are suffering from here in North America, boys and girls. In fact, we're suffering from it in Europe too, and it's been driving me crazy ever since 2001 when I watched the World Trade Center burn from the roof just a few feet above our head right now. And it's this. People started walking into my apartment after that building burned down, the World Trade Center, saying, you know something? This is the worst civilization in the history of mankind, and it deserves to die. Every civilization rises and falls. This one is falling, and thank God it's finally falling. Now look, there are a few little problems with this. First of all, if you had been born in 1850, your average life expectancy would have been 38.5 years. Think about that, boys and girls. 38.5 years. You would not have lived to see the age of 40. If you'd been born in 2000, your life expectancy would have been 78.5 years. Now do the arithmetic. That's more than twice as much lifetime. No civilization in the history of the world has ever more than doubled the lifespan of its citizens. No civilization in the history of the world has ever added an extra 40 fucking years to the lives of its citizens. Back in the days of Imperial China, when the Chinese emperor controlled what seemed to be all the resources and wealth on planet Earth, he was willing to give it all up just to get an extra 4 years of life. Think of how many total treasures he would have given up for 40 years. Another little fact. We think we live in misery, oppression, enemy, alienation, all kinds of bullshit like that. The fact is, if you've been the poorest paid worker in London in 2000, you would have earned what an entire tenement full of the poorest paid workers in London earned in 1850. Plus, you'd have had extra privileges. There was this fabulously rich guy in London in 1850 who was a total techno freak. And he had so much power and so much money that he was able to build a 1,000,000 square foot building in a radically new architecture and get governments from all over the world to send their latest high-tech gadgets to him in London. And yet he could not buy an iPhone. He could not buy an iPad. He could not buy a laptop. He could not make calls to Beijing while walking down the street. He couldn't even dream of those things. And the poorest paid worker in London in 2000 could do all of those things. So is this the worst civilization in the history of mankind? No, it's given more powers to humans than humans have ever imagined in their lives. What do we accomplish by downgrading all of this? Very simple. It's another act of amputation. If our great-grandfathers gave us an extra 40 years of life, how many years of extra life do we owe our great-grandchildren? At least 40, if not 80, because things are getting faster, better, and cheaper all the time. If one worker in London, if a poorly paid worker in London could earn what an entire tenement full of workers earned in 1850, what kind of income do we owe to our great-grandchildren? Not to mention to the great-grandchildren of the people in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, in Malaysia, in Nigeria, and Kenya. Because when we yank up the quality of life in London, when we yank up the quality of life in New York, we yank up the quality of life everywhere. The poorest paid people in Africa 20 years ago already had transistor radios. A miracle that King Edward, the richest guy in England, the techno freak, could not possibly afford. And today they all have cell phones, and those cell phones are changing the lives of Africans. And we think we have the worst civilization in the history of mankind, and in the name of that perverted, utterly wrong perception, we are willing to see it die. We are willing to amputate lifetimes from children yet to come, and that is morally unacceptable, period. Get your perception straight. This is a great civilization that's done a lot of rotten things. Stop the rotten things, but take the great ones, recognize them, celebrate them, and carry them forward with all your fucking might.